Om Bhadram Karnebhyah Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashye Mokshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangaistuষ্টuvagum Sastanobhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We have been doing the Mundaka Upanishad, second canto, second chapter, second of the second chapter. In our last talk, we saw the Upanishad emphatically declaring that everything is nothing but Brahman. Brahmai Vedam Vishramidam. In this, the teacher is showing what the goal is and how to attain that goal. The first mantra of this Upanishad, the first one. I'll chant the Sanskrit. Om Avisannihitam Guhacharam Nama Mahatpadam Atraitat Samarpitam Ejat Pranan Nimishascha Ya Edat Janatha Sadasat Varenyam Param Vijnanad Yadvarishtham Prajanam. No problem. I can't see. Anyway. The luminous Brahman dwells in the cave of the heart and is known to move there. It is the great support of all, for in it is centered everything that moves, breathes, and blinks. O disciples, know that to be yourself, that which is both gross and subtle, which is adorable, supreme, and beyond the understanding of creatures. The imperishable Brahman or Purusha, which is the main teaching of the Upanishad, is not very easy to comprehend. How can a formless reality be known? So the Shruti, that's the Upanishads, in various ways, in different places, tries to teach us this. Here it says, Avi Sannihitam. Avi Sannihitam means it is luminous. Luminous is not something bright this. Luminous means it reveals everything, the capacity to reveal. We think that the sun reveals and illumines everything, but it's not so. The reality is it's the light of the Atman or Brahman that illumines. And Sannihitam, we don't have to go far in search of Brahman. It's very near. Sannihitam, very close. It's very close. And Guhacharam dwells in the cave of the heart. The heart is always compared to a cave. In that cave dwells the Atman and moves around. How? Through the senses. Through the senses it goes out. Seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling, thinking, all this are accomplished only because of the self behind them. The Atman illumines and animates this body, senses, and the mind. Actually, when we experience something, we are actually experiencing Brahman plus this, the stable. It's Brahman plus this. If you remove that, no perception of the table will be there. It is the consciousness behind, the awareness behind everything that reveals. Why? Because it's the substratum of both me and the object of experience. Behind both is the one reality. If that reality is not there, everything is dark. Everything, there's no question of experience, neither the experiencer nor the experienced. This is what is meant by everything is centered. You see, everything is centered. All that moves, breathes, and blinks is centered in that Brahman. How? Like the spokes of the wheel. It's all centered in the hub, in the nave of the wheel. So in that way, everything is centered in Brahman. Brahman is the very stuff of all that we see and all that we are. And it says, Mahat Padam, great support, a great goal to be achieved. Great in what way? It's the pervasiveness. It's solid takes place, occupies place. Liquid, more pervasive. Gas, all the more. Space, ultimately we can conceive of space, because the whole cosmos, the whole galaxies, the infinite galaxies which are there, they are all in space. But that space is contained in Brahman. So just we can understand at least some glimpses of the pervasiveness of the Atman we can, or the Brahman we can understand. That is why it's called great. And why? And it is Padam, the goal to be achieved, because we all are just so many reflections of that one consciousness. That one infinite consciousness is reflected in you, in me, in everybody. So it is our ultimate goal. That is what we are trying to reach. Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam, we say. That is the pada, that is the state, that is the goal that every creature, all that have come into, all that breathes, all that moves, everything. So all that breathes, moves, blinks, and that which does not breathe, does not move, does not blink, that is, in one word, both animate and inanimate world is supported by Brahman. And that is your own Atman. It's both gross and subtle. And adorable, it says, which is adorable. What can be more adorable than our own true self? We love ourselves, isn't it? The first thing is we love ourselves. It is because of the self. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says that wife is a lovable. Because of the self, the husband is loved. Everything in this world is loved because of the self. The self is the most adorable one. And beyond the understanding of the creatures. So it might look contradictory. No, the Upanishad, the teacher is asking us to know. And at the same time, in the same breath, he is saying beyond the understanding of creatures. Why? Because the subtlety of the subject. Because of the subtlety of the subject, it's difficult to comprehend. In colloquial language in Kannada, they say Vedanta, iron. What is that name? What does it say for the iron? It is like an iron peanut. Peanuts are very tasty to eat, you just can munch. But Vedanta is an iron peanut made of iron, very hard to, your teeth will break. So very hard to understand, because our minds are used to gross things. It can comprehend anything that has attributes, anything that functions, which has activity. Its scope is limited. Within this limit, it can comprehend. But Brahman is unlimited. How can a limited entity comprehend the unlimited? That is why the subject is a bit difficult. And then how are we to do it? How are we to understand that? The Upanishads give only one way. The only way to know is the technique of Pratibodha Viditam. The Kena Upanishad deals with it, as taught in Kena Upanishad, which means that every perception, every thought, in every perception, in every thought, Brahman is revealed. How? Not as an object, but as the perceiver, as the knower. So a knower can never become known. A knower can never become a known. So object, the Atman cannot be known as an object, as how I perceive a table, a chair, a people, a building. No. It is the perceiver of this. In that way, that is the art of knowing the Atman or Brahman. We see house, people, tree, etc. These are objects of knowledge. But Brahman is the very subject. We can know it only as a knower or the witness. In the strictest language, we say that table exists, the book exists, the chair exists. But in the philosophical language, it exists, so the table exists. It exists, that exists. And on that is the chair superimposed. That you can use. The chair and the table are superimposed on. So their existence depends upon the existence of the Brahman. On that, if one is remote, gone. So it's a great support, the very substratum of our existence. See, this variegated universe, Jagat Vaichitrya, they say in Sanskrit, the variegated universe is superimposed, imagined, kalpita, imagined on it. How? We know this standard example, what the Vedanta give is the snake lying on the ground in the semi-darkness. That's the only best example. And it's not just only the snake somebody perceives. Someone may perceive it as a chain or a garland lying, or someone may say, oh, this floor is cracked. Or somebody say, be careful, somebody has poured the water. So these are all the things one can perceive. But all this, the snake, the garland, the crack, the water, all this depending on what? On the rope. If the rope was not there, there is no superimposition at all. No one would have seen. So if there is no substratum, that the rope is a substratum, on that is everything superimposed. So that's the idea. This is the knowledge thing which the Upanishad is trying to teach us. Do not try to comprehend it as an object. Know it as the very subject. Swamiji said in his Song of the Nassin, there is but one, the free, the knower, the self. In him is Maya, dreaming, the witness. He appears as nature and soul. Thou art that. Sannyasin board, say Om Tat Sat Om. See, this knower, the witness, he appears as nature and soul, the individual soul and the world around. So that's what the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says. You cannot see that which is the witness of the vision. You cannot hear that which is the hearer of the hearing. You cannot think that which is the thinker of the thought. You cannot know that which is the knower of the knowledge. This is your own self. Why the subject is so important? Because it's something pertaining to me. It's about me. And we know how self-important we are. Everything is centered in me. So this is the truth of my being. So that is of utmost importance. So everything else other than this is perishable, except your own self. So what's the utility of this knowledge? The same Upanishad, this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, beautiful verses are there. Supposing if a person knows, as I am this, I'm of the nature of pure consciousness. If a person knows that he or she is of this nature, then desiring what and for whose sake will he or she suffer in the wake of the body? Why? Why should I identify myself with the body and suffer? Oh, this pain, that pain. I have got this disease, that disease. My end is very near. Why should I, if I know that I am this? So that is the biggest utility. Gives strength, fearlessness. When I know that I am the imperishable, immutable self. That's the great blessing that the scriptures can give to us. What a wonderful concept. Even the intellectual thinking of it gives tremendous strength. So the second mantra is Yadarchimat Yadanabhyonucha Yasmin Loka Nihita Lokinascha Tadet Tadaksharam Brahma Saprana Sadu Vang Manaha Tadetat Satyam Tad Amritam Tad Vedavyam Saumya Vidhi. Yadarchimad, that which is radiant. Yadanubhyonucha, subtler than the subtlest. And cha, they say, that means greater than the greatest. And that which is the support of all the worlds, and that in all the worlds and the inhabitants of the worlds are supported by it. That verily is the indestructible Brahman. That is the prana, speech, and the mind. That is the true, and that is the immortal. That alone is to be struck. Strike it, my good friend. Saumya, the teacher, very affectionately calls the disciple Saumya, because when you get a competent disciple, imagine how fond Sri Ramakrishna was of Swamiji, competent disciple. So the love of teacher pours out in a very sweet way. He addresses him. Saumya, it is translated as friend, but Saumya is a wonderful word. It has all affection, love, respect, everything is there in it. It's a very beautiful word. So radiant, Atman, that which is radiant, the light of all. We sing in Sri Ramakrishna's Aratrikam, Jyotira Jyoti, light of all lights. Ujala Hridi Kandara, Tumitam Abhanjanahar. You are the dispeller of darkness, ignorance. So Atman is the light of all light. That subtler than subtlest, subtler than subtlest, subtler than the Atman. Because all the matter are supported by consciousness. So subtler than the subtlest and greater than the greatest, greater than all the cosmos, all this multitude of galaxies, everything, they are all contained in Brahman, not like a cup of water containing in the tumbler. It's otha-protha, that's the word. In and through, everything is just suspended rather. How the planets and everything is suspended in the space. So everything is suspended in Brahman. The Brahman acts as a support. Shankaracharya says, Niradhara swarupoham sarvadharoham evacha. I am supportless. Because I'm infinite. What can support me? Only infinite can support me. And there cannot be two infinites. So I am of the nature of supportless entity. I am the support of everything. Sarvadharoham evacha. I am the support of everything. Nothing can support me because I am infinite. So this idea of infinite, even an intellectual grasp, is so amazing, so strengthening. We all need to have this, especially the days that we are going through. and worlds. According to Hinduism, there are 14 worlds, 7 up, 7 below. Up 7 is including the earth, higher regions, lower, according to our karma. These are not the physical world. No astronauts can show us. But then there's a subtle world. According to one's experience, we go to those regions and work out our karma. Good, bad, doesn't matter. Bad, go down. Good, go raise up. That's so. But Brahman is the support of all that. Just as Brahman is the support of this earth, that also. Then why should we want to go? We don't want to go to any worlds. That's why we are called Vedantins. We do all desireless action, so that we don't want to go to any world. Anyway, and our prana, our speech, our mind, everything is supported by it. Apart from consciousness, mind, even the prana, energy. Energy is the, what we say, very subtle and all that. It is also one of the manifestation of consciousness. So all these are centered, supported by the Atman. And that is the goal. The teacher is asking us to understand that. Strike means what? Atman is not outside, it's within. We are not going to strike it. Understand it, comprehend it. Try to concentrate on that aspect. So supported, all this world, everything is supported and that. Now one thing, as I told you, Brahman is a subtractum of all the modifications. Everything is modification of consciousness. And we know everything is changing in the world. My body, my mind, the world outside, everything is changing. But who is perceiving the change? If the person who is perceiving the change and the who is changing, if both were changing, I, the child, and I, the youth, are two different. And I, the middle-aged lady, different. I, the old lady, which I'm going to be, is different. How can it be? How inconsistent the idea is? I was born, that is, my body came into existence. I was a toddler. I grew. I was a youth. I am now a lady. All this is changing, the body, but I am the same. So who is perceiving this change? I was, I am, I will be. Who is perceiving? So there is one unchanging entity. This is what the Upanishad is trying to put again and again. The soul, the world, everything is supported. All that is I, you, this whole world is supported by one cause. That is the primal cause, Adi Karana, the primal cause. And whole world, everything, including my body and mind, are the effect of it. Whatever is revealed, anything, when something is revealed, when I understand, I see, it's always the consciousness is revealed through that. A very subtle, dry subject this is. But that's how it is. That's the secret of ourself. So we cannot know Brahman or Atman as objective, but as the subject of the universe. So this whole variegated universe, if I need to understand that Brahman, then I have to pull out myself from this and try to think in a different way. And what is the technique? The third and the fourth mantras tell us. Yeah. Dhanurgrihitau Upanishadam Mahastram Sharam Hyupasa Nishitam Sandhayita Ayamya Tad Bhavagatena Chetasa Lakshyam Tadevaksharam Saumya Vidhi. Take the Upanishad as the bow, the great weapon, and place upon it the arrow sharpened by meditation. Then, having drawn it back with the mind directed to the thought of Brahman, you draw it along with the mind and direct it to what? Not something outside, to the Brahman, the thought of Brahman. Strike that mark. Oh, my good friend, that which is imperishable. So what the Upanishad is giving, what's the bow? We will know it. The Upanishad furnishes with a mighty weapon. Astra. Astra is that which goes out of my hand. Shastra, this in Sanskrit, there are two words, Astra and Shastra. Astra is that which goes out of my hand. Shastra is that which be in my hand, like dagger or the, what do you call? Knife, sword. So they are in my hand. So that is Shastra. But Astra is something which goes out of my hand and hits. So the Upanishad is giving us a great weapon, a mighty weapon. And what is the arrow? The individual self. That is the empirical self. That consciousness reflected, the reflected consciousness in each one of us. We can say the sadhaka's mind at best. Sharpened by what? Through meditation. So when we analyze and meditate on it, the mind sheds its impurities. The mind sheds its grossness, rather, we can say. It sheds its grossness. And the beautiful word is ayamya tad bhavagatena chetasa. Drawing it, when the bow is there, they draw the string. So that is referred to withdrawal of the senses from their functions. Eye is seeing, the nose is smelling, the ear is hearing. No, shut it. Draw back the senses to one point where the feeling, the consciousness is felt. That is the cave of the heart. That's the target, which is imperishable Brahman. So in this, both in the next mantra is also, it will explain still clearly. What is important is this word, intense absorption. See, something when we like, without our knowledge, our mind thinks of it. There is no hindrance. Nobody need to make us. We think of it automatically. Constantly our mind dwells on it because we have a liking for it. We know it. We want it. So that should be the intensity. This commitment to the ideal is the essential thing. And that is the greatest virtue a spiritual aspirant can have. The fourth mantra deals a bit detailedly. Pranavodhanu sharohi atma brahma tallakshamuchyate apramattena vedhavyam sharavat tanmayo bhavet. Om is the bow, the Atman is the arrow, Brahman is said to be the mark. It is to be struck by an unrestrained or undistracted mind. Undistracted mind. Then the Atman becomes one with the Brahman, as the arrow with the target. This is a realization, gradual realization, krama mukti, what we call. Gradually, the Upanishad, generally, the Advaitic sadhana or the Advaitic, sadhana only I can say, spiritual practice according to Advaita is called as vichara. That is reasoning. Atma vichara. Usually we say shravana manana nididhyasana. Hearing, contemplating or thinking, reasoning, and then meditating. This is what we call. But nididhyasana, though it is translated as meditation, but Nididhyasana is not actually meditation. It is Atma Vichara. It's just complete, what do you call, discerning, and then the mind rests, and that particular, when everything, Sri Ramakrishna says, when everything is spilled, what remains is that. When you start negating and negating, finally what remains is that. So this, in the Advaita sadhana, three things, as I tell you, just as a bird needs the wings and a tail to fly. So the flight of the alone is with the help of discernment, dispassion, and intense aspiration. Not just aspiration, intense aspiration. With these three, the Atma Vichara, the reasoning on Brahman becomes very, very clear. And then what happens? Only one thought remains. I am Brahman. That alone will, nothing else is there. So in order to keep only one thought, how much of detachment, how much of discernment should be there? So it's a big, long way, very difficult. And aspiration makes way for everything. If there is aspiration, everything will come, because on whatever we want, we try, we work, we focus, and we achieve, don't we? We do it and we get it. But if this is our aspiration, we are bound to get, our discernment will become sharp. Like how Vivekananda will say, Anitya Drishyeshu Vivichya Nityam. Just tear the name and form and perceive the reality within. So this happens. So this is the big, great, but the Upanishad knows that we are not yet ready for this realization. So out of infinite compassion, come on, okay, take the help of Om. Take the help of Pranava. This, the Upanishad gives a help. That is why it says, and Upanishad, Pranava, the Omkara has been spoken. It's one of the subject. It's the subject of, and Omkar, Om, is the sound Brahman. You say Sridharaprana, I said what? See the name? So like that. It is the sound Brahman. Brahman in the form of sound. So through that, take that help of it. And when the mind sheds its last impurities, then the Atman goes, the mind goes and gets absorbed, gets stuck. So in this one, the apramattena, there we said bhavagatena, complete absorption. Here, undistracted. Same word. Complete absorption doesn't have distraction. And this undistracted mind is completely absorbed. They are synonymous. Beautiful two words. So undistracted mind we need. So why? Because there's a word in the yoga, we say pramada. Pramada is a great obstacle in the path of yoga. What is pramada? Heedlessness, forgetfulness of the ideal, non-clarity of the goal. These are obstacles to spirit. Maybe with great enthusiasm, get up in the morning, have a bath, go to the shrine, nice, beautiful light is there, wonderful, good, very calm and nice place. Take a good cushion, wrap yourself, and resolve to think of nothing else other than God. After some time, either the mind dozes off or it takes flight. Wanders off. This is the pramada. This is the obstacle. So the warning, be careful. So apramatta, alertness, is very, very essential. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty, as we say. So alert, just as the arrow gets fixed in the target, the scriptures say that our minds should get absorbed in the object of meditation. Even if the arrow strikes the object, there are chances that it may fall. Even the minds of those who have attained samadhi, even their minds, there are chances it can drift away from the goal. That is why samadhi has to be practiced again and again. Totapuri was living in Sri Ramakrishna's temple garden, where he was a teacher. And every morning he would sit like a rock on his seat and meditate for a long time, practice samadhi. So one day Sri Ramakrishna asked, "You are a man of realization. Why do you meditate so much?" Then Totapuri showed him that little tumbler, a brass tumbler he had, drinking pot, water pot. He said, "Do you see that? How bright it is, like gold? Because every day I wash it. Supposing I don't wash for 2 days, it will become black." So the mind may get tarnished. So I need to practice samadhi again and again. It looks strange. We may wonder, how can a person who has attained God fall from the goal? So this is all. It's a caution for us to don't take things very easy. The Upanishad is trying. So the right type of effort has to be put. So it's cautioning us. It's not frightening us. It's not telling that it's an impossible task. It is possible. If someone has realized, I too can, because I'm also endowed with all those things with the person. It depends upon my aspiration and my effort. And so, if a person has realized God, yet has fallen, then what does it show? That there is a gradation in the realization of the self. Even in the realization of self, there's a gradation. Depending upon the intensity of the experience, the knowers of Brahman are classified into 4. Brahmavid, Vara. Don't get frightened about Sanskrit. I'll just beautiful terms. Brahmavid Variyan and Brahmavid Varishta. Great. So, according to the yoga, the mind has 7 planes on which the mind can move on. The first 3 planes are the planes where the ordinary sadhakas like us move. These sadhakas do not feel that the world is unreal. I may 100 times say world is unreal, but let somebody speak about it, I'll fire that person. That means to say my body, my mind, my ego is very real to me. So this is the sadhakas who are in the first 3 rungs of the mind. The next is the 4th plane. When the mind reaches there, a spiritual aspirant might have a glimpses, a general knowledge of Atman, the spiritual nature of his self, a very glimpse. It may be, you can say, just the arrow went and fell down. Just for a second it touched and it fell down. So that may be so that is the 4th. He is called as Brahmavit. And what happens is, he just has one knowledge, nothing more than that. And the second, 3 over, this is the 4th one. 5th, 6th, 7th. These are called as Jivan Muktas. One free in the body itself. But even in them, there is slight gradation. The 5th one is a person who enters into samadhi. He will wake up from the samadhi by himself, because there are still noises in the mind. So those bring him back automatically. There are, in our Puranas, we have seen so many spiritual aspirants after attaining and they fall back. So this is the 5th one, that is Brahma with Vara. And then the 6th type, the 6th plane, a person who has reached the 6th plane, that is a person to whom the person attains the samadhi, but he or she doesn't come back by themselves. Somebody have to bring them back. This is the state where Holy Mother generally used to stay. Sometimes when she used to go into deep samadhi, people had to bring her back. Ramakrishna still further. Why? Swami Turiyananda says that mind which we with great difficulty try to raise it to the heart and throat, Holy Mother is pressing that mind to go down by thinking of Radhu at her knees. Just imagine the what do you call, the transparency, the purity of the mother's mind. My Holy Mother was just trying to keep the mind, trying her best to keep her mind there. So whenever she used to go into samadhi, there are chances she'll go away. So people would repeat Sri Ramakrishna's name. She had a great adoration for Sri Ramakrishna's name. We say, Tannama Shravana Priyam. So that name they would repeat and bring her mind. So this is the sixth. Sadhaka might with great difficulty go, but Holy Mother with great difficulty, she just kept it there. No, you're not going about that. Hold it. She was holding it. And then, of course, the one highest won't come. So when the mind goes to that stage, then there is no fear of fall. So that means to say that we may reach the target, but there is chances we may skip. That is why we have to practice again and again. But with Totapuri, you know, Totapuri, when he had this problem, stomach upset, his mind could not go into samadhi. He was trying to meditate and take the mind above. The body is dragging. See how strong the body and mind is. It drags. But Totapuri he did not have any identification or love for the body. He said, nonsense. If this is obstructing me from my infinite joy, I am ready to throw it away. So he went. So that is the gift. That is the result. We get detachment from the body and mind. Spontaneously it will come. Then the loss of body is not such a panicking thing for us. Because ultimately we all have to one day or the other day go through it, but we will not panic at it. So the fifth mantra. So again and again we need to practice it, hit it. Yasmin dhyau prithvi chantariksham otham manasa pranaishta sarvai tame vaikam janatha atmanam anyan vacho vimunchada amritasesha setuhu. In him are woven heaven, earth, and the space between. And the mind with sense organs know that non-dual Atman and give up all other talk. He is the bridge to immortality. Again, the Otha means, again, it's centered. Everything is centered. The world, Brahman is the cause. Finally, this I will be repeating this again and again. It's like a mantra. Because the idea has to go. Brahman is the cause, the world is the effect. And the effect is not different from the cause. The effect is just the cause in a different way. Do you get it? Did you get it? The effect is cause in a different way. The matter, there is nothing such a thing called as matter. It is always consciousness. It's revealed as matter. Matter is nothing but consciousness. That's the idea. So the very stuff of this universe is Brahman. Just like the very stuff of a mud pot is mud. A mud pot, a mud crockery. What is it made of? Mud. Mud is the very stuff of it. In the same way, what is this universe made of? Consciousness. Consciousness is the very stuff of this universe. Nothing but that. But we in our foolishness identify ourselves with our individuality, and that is the cause for all mischief. Look at the things that are going on. Why? Big egos. I cannot withdraw. What will the world tell me? Ruin the country. This is what is happening. Big egos come. So know that alone and give up all other talk. As I told you, The only way to know the Atman is by thinking of the subject. The process of understanding is different. Like, for example, Sri Ramakrishna says, the sergeant goes with the lamp, and with that light, everybody see everything. But if you have to see the surgeon, you have to ask, can you take the light towards yourself? This is the way. We have to bring back the mind and focus the very, and understanding is now outward. Bring the understanding in within. Turn your understanding towards the Atman. That is what it is. And this can be done only when our mind is free from other distraction. If the mind is preoccupied with too many things, this can never happen. That is why the scriptures tell us, stop all unnecessary talk. When we get together, what we do? We talk. We actually don't get anything, but it's our nature to go on talking. And we talk. Energy is wasted. Conservation of energy and apply it where it is required. That's what this mantra is telling. Sri Ramakrishna never allowed his disciples to talk unnecessarily. In the gospel, you can see Narendra, young man, has come. M has seen him for the couple of times, I think so. So he got a chance, and then Narendra started talking about this, that, and said, do you know how nowadays young boys are becoming very bad? They don't have any respect for elders. They call by names, and calling by names is a very bad thing those days. Anyway, Swamiji had no idea how far the people can go. So all this he was talking. And Sri Ramakrishna said, what are you speaking? He came and asked him. Then Swamiji said, oh, we are talking about how the world is going on, how the people are. And Sri Ramakrishna said, why do you talk all that? Talk about only God here. And then he started scolding M, because M was a bit older than Narendra. He said, you are a grown-up man. You ought to have known that you shouldn't encourage youngsters to speak all this. And Swami Ramakrishnananda always used to say, people would come to his ashrama, think of God, meditate, talk to sadhus. No, take the newspaper and start reading. And Swamiji say, Swami Ramakrishnan used to say, why do you want to read that? You can do that everywhere. You have come here, try to think of this. At least for a few moments, you keep your mind on a higher thing. So the scriptures ask us to hold on to this and stop unnecessary things. Whatever, they don't say what is needed, unnecessary things. If we can stop that, we'll get ample of time for our spiritual practice. Just because our minds don't like to do, that is why we say we don't have time or anything. There's ample of time. There's a lot of time for us. So why? Because this knowledge of the self is a bridge to immortality. Only through self-knowledge can we cross this ocean of samsara, the change, the darkness, the ignorance. So the Upanishad is asking us to be alert, be alert. Then the sixth mantra. Ara iva rathanabhau samhata yatra nadhyah sa yesho antascharate bahuda jayamana. Om ityevam dhyayata atmanam swastih paraya tamasa parastha. He moves about, becoming manifold within the heart, where the arteries meet, like the spokes fastened in the nave of the chariot wheel. Meditate on Atman as Om. Hail to you, Godspeed. May you cross beyond the sea of darkness. The heart is the seat of pure consciousness. Mataji used to say, the heart is the seat of God. Human heart. Heart of man is seat of God. Like that. The heart is the seat of pure consciousness. The infinite non-dual Atman, the unchanging, dwells there. But through Maya, we identify ourselves with our mind, intellect, body, and then say, I'm angry. I'm terribly angry with you. See, I was Atman. I became terribly angry. I changed into terribly angry. I'm miserable. And the pure consciousness, I forgot about it and I became miserable. And I'm very happy and I become happy. See, the one non-dual. Due to Maya, due to its identification, it becomes many, Bahuda, many. It becomes what? Happy, sorrow, joyful, irritated, angry, all this, or we become something entirely. So we identify ourselves with our mind, and that's, but this Atman, everything is centered like the hub. They call it nerves, arteries, but actually it is not arteries or nerve. The word nadi is the center of energy, the psychic consciousness going to all parts of the body through that. And concentrating on the mind, on the Om, because the Upanishad is giving us an aid, just like we give a toddler something to walk on. So Upanishad is understanding our inability. So take the help of Om, because it's very close to Brahman. Meditating on the, see, you all know it, but just quickly I'll tell. A, Om are the three letters. A represents creation, O represents the preservation, and Ma represents absorption. So Brahman, from Brahman it has come, it lives in Brahman, it goes back into Brahman. Like the Upanishad gave us the example of the spider and the cobweb, the web. So meditating on the Brahman, you embark on your journey. Godspeed you. Good luck. Because a lot of difficulties and obstacles are there. You have to cross them all. So the blessings of the sages, the great ones, are a big support. And out of fullness of heart, they bless us. May you be free from ignorance, darkness. That is the greatest blessing that we can get from our teachers. With this, the 6 mantras of the second chapter, there are some more, five or six are there. And the next month we will study. Not much time is there.
So it's time for some questions.
That slide with a picture of the target.
Yes, Pranavodhanu. Fourth one. Fourth.
Yeah, like it says, Om is the bow. Can I rephrase that as Om represents focus? Because then later on in the last slide, you said that Atman as Om, you know? So I'm just trying to visualize what's going on.
See, then if we are practicing archery, bow, isn't it? We need a bow. And the Upanishad is giving pranava as the bow. Use this. You need something to hold on and to go. So the Om helps you to concentrate your mind on Brahman. So Brahman is the target. The consciousness which is within is it's not something outside that you hit it. The consciousness is within. The whole show is going reverse. So how do you meditate? You meditate with some support, and we use mantras, isn't it? Doesn't our mantra, Ishta mantra, enable us to concentrate on our Ishta? Take it. In the dualistic sense, this example goes very well. If your Ishta is the object of meditation, your mantra is the bow, and your mind is the arrow. Your individuality is the arrow. And you want what you want. You want to be one with your Ishta, isn't it? That's the same thing. In a dualistic sense, this is apt this thing is an illustration.
So can I think, trying to visualize it in a more So could I just think of Om as a drive or a focus that one would use, you know? I'm just trying to put it in more modern context. I'm trying to visualize it. So is this a drive that's within you in order to help you understand something, you know?
Yeah,
Motive.
Motive is your aspiration. It should be your aspiration. Om is something you in order to attain something, you need a technique. You need to have some skills, isn't it? Some skills are something you need in order to get to achieve some project. If you want to achieve some project, there are some process. You need to go through that. You need this help. It's a process. You can call it. And what's important is the mind, the arrow. You see the arrow and the person who is wielding the arrow. If this arrow, when you are pulling, if the hand is, even if it shakes a little, you lose the target. You will miss the target. So what is important is they're asking you to be very, very alert. Apramata, be alert. And meditate on God. What happens is we sit with all good intentions. Our intention is good. We want something, but as I told you, this pramada, this heedlessness, this forgetfulness, this is what happens, and we lose the target. We miss the target. And this psychophysical organism is the only way, and this is the only one. You have got it. We do not know what's going to happen future. I don't know. Make use. Make hay while sunshine. Use all the faculties, all the energies that are at your disposal and attain it. So this Om is just an help. It's an aid, nothing more than that. It's just an help. Main thing you have to deal is with the arrow. Your control of your strength of the biceps will tell you how you will pull it and push it, throw it. So that is what is important. Strengthen our personality through constant meditation, through constant discernment, constantly being no. Whenever we emotionally come back, it happens. Emotional outbursts go. Come back. This is the beauty of life. If everything has to happen very quickly and it's not worth achieving. No use. What's the fun? I meditate and immediately I become a sadhu and very great and full composure or living in the seventh plane and then realizing in one life, it's not worth. To earn $1, how much you have to work? And what to speak of this? How much of effort is needed? So the Upanishad is trying us, making us to understand the depth, and how much of alertness and how much of effort is needed. Just they are trying to make us to understand this. That is why. Always important is in this mantra is the arrow, perfect aiming. Just like the other day, Gayatri Panaji was telling in the Friday class, Arjuna's example. Sri Ramakrishna says, those who can see only the eye of the bird can attain. When the little boy Arjuna was asked to aim, all the students were asked. But no, many things, say, they are seeing the bird. They are seeing even the eye. But along with what's happening, there are so many things are there along with that. The tree, the branches, the sky, the teacher in this side, the students this side, everything is being seen. That means what? There are too many distractions. You know, when you want to needle, the thread has to be fine, one pointed only. If it sticks out, it will never pass into that. So this sharpness is what is needed. That is what the Upanishad is alerting us. Be sharp, be alert, be alert. That's the thing. That's the main thing. And Om is, after all, it's just an aid. Nothing more than that. And the two, because we are not able to think, understand the concept of Atman, that is why the Upanishad is saying, okay, now start it with this for the beginners. It's a big aid. That's it.
Sort of like along what Karan was saying, Om is the arrow, but no,
The mind is the arrow.
mind is the arrow.
Om is a support, that is the bow given.
It's a bow.
If there is no bow, there is no,
Okay.
you cannot
Oh,
throw
I
the
see.
arrow. So that is,
Well, I get that you need a bow and the arrow. I'm
Huh.
sort of thinking it's the other way around.
no.
Um,
You need a bow in order that your arrow will enter the target.
Yeah.
So you need Om
But it's-
so that your mind will concentrate in the Brahman. It will enter. So that is an aid.
Okay, I understand the part about the practice, because I was thinking that, having got a bow and an arrow, you've got to fit the arrow into the bow, and that's
And pull the string.
well, I mean, it's quite possible that the arrow falls out as you pull the string back. So you need to practice it to see if you can get the stupid arrow out of the bow and go somewhere. That's
Yeah,
the
it
first
could.
part. And then it might sort of clunk onto the target if it's lucky. And then even if you hit the bullseye,
And it falls off.
If I don't practice, it's like anybody, like an Olympic archer. They hit the bullseye once. They don't walk away.
Yeah.
They're going to keep going day after day after day to make sure you keep hitting it
Practice,
all the time,
practice.
every time.
Always Gayatri Pranaji
Yeah.
says for you, practice. See, when you start practicing, maybe the arrow wouldn't even go so far. It might go and fall.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Wouldn't even, there, it fell. Next time, let me try. Oh, it fell over there. Oh, not bad. And then one fine day, it touched the target. How happy you will feel. That means you got something.
Yeah, it's
And then further practice, maybe it hit the target, but then it was slanting. Then after some time, with the pressure of it, it fell down.
and if
you
I don't keep practicing it, just because I hit the target once, that could have just been dead lucky.
Yeah. Sri Ramakrishna gives an example of the mongoose. Mongoose, no? In the villages and all, the mud huts, there will be some bricks will fall off in the huts and all, poor people. And this mongoose, it goes and sits there. Nice, cozy, escape. But naughty boys, what they do, they tie stone or brick to the tail of the mongoose. Poor mongoose, it goes and sits, but the weight of the brick or the stone, it falls back. Again, it goes and climbs, again it falls. So the desire for the world, senses, is like the one which is drawing back.
Yep.
So it hit the target, it hit it, it didn't go, it didn't pierce. What happened was it was a little bit like this. It hit it, but then and this weight of this portion, the back portion is very heavy and it will fall. It hit it stuck, but then not properly. Still there is the rudiments of the desires, vasanas are there. So it fell. This is how it goes. But one fine day it will go.
With those 7 levels you're talking about, where did Ramakrishna fit?
Oh, Ramakrishna is the golden pot.
So, I mean, you're saying that there's the people on.
See, with Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, that's what I told you. I'm not putting Ramakrishna within that, because his mind is always a golden pot. It is always above. It is always above. He used to hold on to simple desires and to come back. I will eat rasgulla. I'll have a glass of water. I will go to zoo.
He'd come back by himself, wouldn't he?
No, he would keep a strong desire in his mind. He would keep it. And holding that desire, he would come back. Can you imagine? It's just the opposite of us. What a pity.
It's almost like he's just going up and down at will.
Yeah, one to many, many to one.
Yeah.
Oscillating from this end to that end.
So he doesn't fit into those 7 levels at all.
It doesn't fit into. That's why he said, no, the Tatapuri said it's a bronze. Ours are a bronze cup. We are a bronze tumbler. So when the washing is needed, he says golden tumbler. He said, if the tumbler is gold, it's an incarnation of God. So all his sadhanas is as an example. He says in Bengali, Amar Shadan Nojirer Jan. Nojir means to set an example. And he said, if I do 16 parts, you will do 1 part. If I do less, you won't do that also. I do 16, you do 1 part. So that is. So I don't bring Sri Ramakrishna into it. But why I mentioned Holy Mother, that's not needed also. What I mentioned was that Holy Mother used to keep her mind, she would not allow it to raise above because she has got to do. For ordinary people like us, she has come. Sri Ramakrishna selected and chose 16 people. But what are the ants and flies like us? Holy Mother had to. Big line is there for her.
I say Ramakrishna to an extra level.
So Holy Mother, out of compassion, she held that mind. Come on, stand there. Don't go above it. She held it. How? By attaching herself to her niece, Radhu. That mind was so pure, so desireless. Just a mention of one Ramakrishna, you don't have to say Ra, that's enough. Her mind would go away. So she held it through her attachment to the niece. It's a rare phenomenon. We can't understand this because we don't even understand the nature of that mind. It's so hard, so subtle, so pure, so transparent. So
that's the problem with our distractions. It's a bit like the bow. We go to practice some archery, and after about
there's no other.
After 5 minutes, I've had enough and walk
That
off.
is why Sri Krishna said, Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagya. Practice and detachment.
But you got to keep practicing.
Practicing and a certain degree of detachment is very, very essential. Very, very essential.
So if initially the your archery is less than exemplary, don't worry about it. Just go. I am. Not that I don't care about my body. No, supposing I might have got something which is not. I'm just saying, don't get attached to the initial outcome of your archery practice, which is going to be pretty ordinary. Don't worry about that. Don't be attached to the.
Do what is needed. Don't give unnecessary.
Yeah.
Because my purpose of having got the psychophysical organism is only to get out of it. This is the only instrument which will undo what I have done.
Yeah.
So I use it for that purpose. That's the purpose. So goal of life, Swamiji said, if a person with a goal does 1,000 mistakes, a person without a goal, an ideal, will do 50,000. So whether we achieve or not, we all have got one ideal. What? God realization, attainment of our true nature, realization, rediscovery of our real nature. That is the goal. We go in our own pace. I cannot hurry like you. I go slowly. I have got certain. I cannot accelerate it more than that. There's a limit for the speed. So, but we go. We keep the track. We will not deviate from the track. That is what the Upanishad is trying to teach us. Take your own time. You live in eternities. Don't worry. Take your own time. But don't deviate from the track. That's it.
Any more questions? All right, so
No. Kanan has one more. That's good, Kanan. So that I can also think from different perspective.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
You-
No. It's all right. I am here. I'll try to do as much as I can.
So,
It is good.
Okay, in the last slide, so here you said the Om can be viewed as a support mechanism or an aid. But in the very last slide that you showed, you said that, it says
As.
Atman
As Atman.
Yeah, so,
Om as Atman.
yeah, so.
Brahman. Om as Brahman.
But there, does the definition of Om as a process or an aid still hold, or is it Like, you know, it's like a word can be either a noun or a.
Because the subject and object is one and the same. What you are going to achieve and what you are using to achieve is one and the same. The thing what happens with the examples can work out in the external world, objective world. You cannot take everything directly into the spiritual life. So for example, when I say Om is the target is Brahman, and Om is the bow and the mind is the arrow. So this becomes very clear. So I take a bow with the and here it is saying Om iti eva dhyayat. Om iti eva dhyayat atmanam. Take the Atman as Om. As you said, because with this mind only, this self only is going and becoming one with the other self, with the Brahman. So that is why it's a very tricky thing, as you said. It's very tricky because the subject of your knowledge is not an object. It's a subject itself. The innermost self itself is the object of your knowledge. Do you understand? Now, I am the subject. Outside is my object of knowledge. That is easy, two different things. Here is what's happening is the subject and the object is one and the same. Here the internal, inner.
You're saying that I am the process.
I am the process and I am the ultimate, the goal which I am listening. Only thing is something is making me different. That difference I'm removing. Do you understand? The individualized self is nothing but the Brahman. It's nothing but Atman is, that is why this Brahman and Atman are one and the same. It's the reflection. That is why it says, think of the Atman as the Om. Here in the last one, Om iti eva dhyayat Atmanam. Think of the Atman as Om and meditate on it. So the Atman and Brahman are actually one and the same. One is infinite consciousness. One consciousness is conditioned by body mind. So they are asking you negate it and find your unity. The whole purpose of Upanishad is to make you understand the Atman and Brahman are one and the same. You are not a small limited entity. The moment I limit myself, duality comes in. With that comes the whole lot of mischief. And I am deprived of my infinite joy. I depend upon these petty things. I take my begging bowl to the five senses, the ear, nose, tongue, taste, touch. Let me get joy from seeing something. Let me get joy from tasting something. Let me get joy from smelling something. Let me get joy from touching something. Beggars. Don't be a beggar. You are the prince, king of infinite joy. Infinite joy is your very nature. Why do you go to somebody's door and ask? That is what Upanishad is trying to make me realize my infinite. And this is the only chance. This is the only chance. Psychophysical organism is the only organism through which I can realize this. No other organism, no other creature, no other species can. And I have traveled all those species and I have come to this point. This is the small. I always compare this spiritual life to that one place in India we call in Amritsar. There is Jallianwala Bagh. There's a place called where the massacre took place. I'm a British General Dyer. He ordered to shoot them. It was a festival. All people were there. It's a park. And the very fun, I had been to that place. I see so huge park and the entrance exit is not more than this. Just a small gate. Only one exit. And huge wall. And the people were trapped just like animals. They shot at them. How many died? So this whole wall. So like this whole universe, the matter, the world of matter is like a wall. In that, the spirit is held. And the only one small exit is, that is the psychophysical organism called man. And blinded.
So essentially, we can summarize it as we have to use our powers to understand that we are God.
No, that is the only thing. Because there is nothing, what do you call, glamorous about it. It's not that you see flying creatures going high up in the air, nothing of that. When you understand that you are infinite, immutable, non-dual Atman, you become fearless. That is the greatest blessing. How many day and night from morning till night, how many type of fears are there when we humans go through? We boast ourselves to be the crown of creation and go ruin the creation, when the planet, but constantly under the fear. So this fear, free from fear, that is the greatest boon. That is why the Atman, the Upanishad calls Brahman, Abhayam, fearlessness. That is the gift. That is the great thing the Upanishad gives us. It makes us fearless. Once I know, nothing of this, I'm pure conscious. Even to be, Sri Krishna says, even at the end of your Antakale, even at the end, if you in Yesha Brahmi Sthiti Partha, Nainam Prapya Vimuhi, Stitvasyam Antakalepi, even at the end of your the life thing is going away. At that moment, in a fraction of a second, you had the realization. You held it free. You are free from this cage. The Upanishad and the Vedic, there's some Sanskrit thing, Nirgachanti Jagad Jalat Pinjara Diva Kesari. Jagad Jalat, from the cage. A lion is just caught in the cage, and that lion struggles to get out of the cage. Cage of what? Cage of matter. Cage of space, time, causation. Get rid and roar like a lion. Swamiji said, Vedanta Kesari, we call Swamiji, the lion of Vedanta. Swami Vivekananda is called Vedanta Kesari. He is the lion of Vedanta. Nothing to fear. And his message was, Abhi, be fearless, nothing to fear. So with this mantra, we got our political freedom. All our improvements are done. If this can be done, why not our spiritual freedom? So if we think, as a matter of course, that freedom also will come. Yes, doctor?
What you are telling in that sense is that worshipper and worship are the same.
Yes.
There is no difference between the two. Till you achieve.
Till you achieve. Once you achieve, there is no difference. But as long as you haven't achieved.
As long as you put an eye, it's a body. Till then
once you have it is a sort of Advaita. It is a sort of Advaita. The worshipper merges in the worshipped. Then there is no difference. Sri Ramakrishna says he saw a young aspirant, sadhaka, very good sadhaka. He was worshipping Shiva, worshipping his guru's feet. He is giving one flower like this, and he is taking that one prasad and eating himself. I said, what sort of him? He had that identity. One, the guru, the Ishta, and he are one and the same entity. Then he says, Ramkar, if that extent, if you have the knowledge, why do you worship? Everything is being done. Why not this? I take pleasure, joy in it, I do it. See, he's doing all this, like Sri Ramakrishna. Sometimes Ramakrishna will fondly would go to the Divine Mother and do small worship, like offer flowers out of joy. But he knows that he and Mother is one. But he kept that devotee ego for our sake. Yes. Thank you.
This Thursday, we had the weekly yoga class from 10 to 11:15 a.m. Coming up on Friday, the fortnightly Gita discussion led by Gayatri Pranaji. And next Sunday, there'll be the monthly talk by Gayatri Pranaji on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And you'll just have to bear with us, I believe, for the next few weeks. We are in the middle of an audio visual upgrade. Thanks to COVID, there are various items that are needed that are delayed. So the company is struggling to get things in to finish. But so far, so good. The sound, we've got to, I know, we've still got to work on that. I mean, we're getting a new mixer for a start. When we get the new mixer, then they do some professional tuning and so on. So we're not going to be fussing about that just now. And in the end, we'll have, less leads and extension cords going everywhere. We've already come a fair way with that. There's a bit of a way to go yet. So maybe another 2 or 3 weeks and it might be all finished. So thanks for joining us in person and thanks for joining us via Zoom, and we've got donation plate and donation box there.